Welcome back to Great Walks of Japan, the Kidai Shoran picture scroll, part 2. If you recall, we were in the old fish market district of Edo, in the back lanes of the Muromachi area, which are still very interesting to explore. Saruya toothpick store was established in 1704, and it's down one of these lanes. Today, it's managed by the 7th generation, Yamamoto Ryota. A craftsman comes in every Wednesday to carve toothpicks. In the Edo period, just 2,000 toothpicks were handcrafted each day. Saruya means monkey store and comes from the first generation owner selling toothpicks down the main street of Nihonbashi with a monkey on his shoulder, using the monkey as a type of poster girl. This woodblock print depicts the busy interior of the store. The toothpicks were made from, and still are made from, laurel. In the following video, Mr. Yamamoto describes this history and says that it was very fashionable for a samurai to use Saruya toothpicks. It was a way of showing off.
猿を看板娘みたいな形で連れて歩いて売っていたっていう話があって、でそれを猿屋と呼んだ、昔で言うとその武士は食わねど高用事っていう言葉があるように見えっ張りの文化というなので、江戸の文化でしょうね。特徴は強度強さがあるっていうことと、あと香りがいいというこの2つが大きなポイントですね。強さが全然違うので、一回使うと多分戻れないんじゃないかなと思いますね。
As Yamamoto-san said, the laurel wood is strong and flexible and has a refined aroma. In Japanese, it's called kuromoji. The interior of the store is as bright and bustling as ever, and a box of kuromoji toothpicks costs about $27. And the craftsman works in the store every Wednesday morning. We see a performing monkey being used a little further down the street in the scroll. Dogs annoy the monkey, and in Japanese, the expression for not getting along is to fight like dogs and monkeys. The scroll contains 1,439 men, 200 women, 32 children, 20 stray dogs, 13 horses, 4 oxen, 1 performing monkey, and 2 falcons. 88 stores are depicted. All will burn to the ground in April of 1806, the following year after our scroll was painted. About 1/4 of the businesses survive this devastation and appear 20 years later in this guide to shopping in Edo, the Edo Kaimono Hitori Annai. The fire that destroyed all the stores was the Bunka Great Fire. It occurred on 22 April 1806 and is one of the 3 great fires of Edo. The other 2 being Meireki in 1657, which we already discussed at Ekoin Temple, and Meiwa in 1772. The Bunka fire was 8 kilometers long and destroyed 500 city blocks. Including all of Nihonbashi. The blue line is our shopping street, entirely within the area of destruction. The side street depicted opposite Muromachi Street is the hardware street. Hardware stores were called kugidana, or nail stores. But they also sold earthen ovens. A street seller is offering single shots of sake. He offers a small cup and fills the single shot from a sake bottle. This is indicative of the relaxed nature of Edo street culture. He is holding a blue and white sake bottle, similar to the one still used in Japan for sake tastings. The snake eye inside the cup is used to test the transparency of the sake against the blue color, and the color of the sake against the white. Just behind him is a sake wholesaler selling large quantities of sake from the cedar barrels. The name of the store is Kamedaya. Sake barrels were used in the process of brewing sake. They provided a stable temperature environment for the fermentation process, and the sake is infused with the qualities of the cedar. After about 20 or 30 years of use, the cedar barrels were given to soy sauce manufacturers who would later recycle them to miso factories. In this way, the barrels would be used for up to 150 years. These days, many brewers use metal tanks, but cedar barrels are making a comeback. Today, Hasegawa Saketen Nihonbashi is an excellent place to taste sake. If you participate in a sake tasting, if it's free of charge, may I suggest you purchase something from the store? Even the best quality sake is reasonably priced. The shop sits in front of the Fukutoku Shrine, also known as the Mebuki Inari Shrine. The shrine has existed in the Nihonbashi area for over 1,000 years. For many recent years, it sat on the roof of a modern building. But in designing the Koredo buildings, Mitsui Real Estate ensured it was rebuilt at ground level. As it is an Inari shrine, locals pray here for success in business, and two fox, who are the messengers of the deity Inari, stand guard. Fukutoku Shrine was also one of the few shrines and temples licensed to sell lottery tickets in the Edo period. And many Japanese still come to pray here for luck in lotteries, particularly if they have gone into a draw for concert tickets, for example, to a favorite idol. I have referred to the Koredo project a number of times as an example of development sensitive to the Edo history of the Nihonbashi area. Koredo Building 2 stands next to the shrine. You can just see the red torii gate at the end on the right there. The Mitsui Corporation has controlled this area for generations, going back to the establishment of the Echigoya, today's Mitsukoshi department store. The Koreedo project has replaced the first few blocks of Nihonbashi with skyscrapers, while ensuring original Edo period stores retained a presence at street level. Koreedo comes from a combination of the English word core and Edo, meaning we are located at the core or traditional heart of business and culture of old Tokyo. An example is Funabashiya, a sweet store established in 1805, the year our scroll was painted. The store makes kuzumochi sweets. In Osaka, these sweets are actually made from kudzu, or arrowroot flour, but in Edo, they are made from fermented wheat starch. The old Nihonbashi Funabashiya is in the top left image there. The store purchased high-quality wheat grown in the Funabashi area of Chiba Prefecture. The first generation owner saw the crowds at Kamedo Tenjin Shrine enjoying the blossoms and would come up to Edo to sell sweets, or come across from Chiba to sell sweets. He made them by mixing wheat starch into a paste with hot water, as in the bottom left image, and then steaming this cake mixture in large bamboo steamers in the top right there. He would then pour brown sugar syrup and kinako, roasted soybean flour, over the sweet. His sweets became one of the famous sweets, or meibutsu, of Edo. Funabashiya is still strict with its ingredients, separating all the gluten out of wheat flour and saving just the starch. The starch is stored in old-style wooden tubs, and lactic fermentation is used to ferment the paste. The process takes 450 days, and the pure starch cakes have a sweet aroma and acidic taste. The cake has a refined elasticity when bitten into. No preservatives are used, and so the cakes must be eaten within 2 days of purchase. Next to the sake wholesaler is the Yorozuya betrothal gift store. The betrothal gift ceremony involves gift exchanges by both families to confirm the couple will marry. The ceremony continues today, with 90% of couples still conducting a betrothal ceremony. The average cost of the meal for 6 people is 64,000 yen. 56% of the couples pay for this meal themselves these days, a contemporary trend. Each side spends about 3,000 to 5,000 yen on gifts. Traditionally, the gifts exchanged were sea bream, noshiawabi. These are long, thin strips of dried abalone wrapped in folded red and white paper, kombu, sea kelp, and dried squid. Today, it is more likely to be sake or cakes or something useful for the kitchen. Yorozuya stocks all the traditional gifts, the sea bream, the abalone, sea kelp, and dried squid. On the street is the retail vegetable market. We see daikon white radishes, carrots, eggplants, jinendo or long yams, and varieties of beans. Now, having just described how relaxed Edo street culture was and how safe Tokyo street life is today, nevertheless, there were fights which broke out, usually around the markets where prime space was fought over. The saying went, fires and fights are the flowers of Edo. Emerging from a side street is a used clothes salesman, and vintage clothes stores are still an important aspect of city life in Tokyo. Continuing along the scroll into Shinagawa-cho, a gentle pack horse sniffs at his load of rice bales. The horse stands in front of a miso store. The storefront is painted black, which enhanced the streetscape by absorbing glare. This store is a trailblazer, as this method of painting storefronts only became popular in the Tempo era, or the 1830s. The store is called Otaya, and their advertising is innovative, placing 2 large miso pots on the awning. Next door is a greengrocer and dried goods store. Greengrocers and miso stores survive in Nihonbashi. And this miso store sells red, white, and mixed miso from around the nation and displays the old cedar barrels in the back there. On the right-hand side is Iseya, which was likely a lacquerware store. An abacus placed on the floor between the 2 men's knees indicates a deal is being struck. The lacquer was perhaps from the village of Hirasawa, a lacquerware village along the Nakasendo. Street sellers sell vegetables which they've purchased wholesale from the nearby Kanda Yachaba vegetable market. The left photograph is of a vegetable peddler from the late Edo period selling eggplants, like those we saw in our scroll, and the monument on the right is where the Kanda Yachaba vegetable market was located. A Yamabushi with his black tokin skull cap is blowing his conch shell. He is a lay practitioner of the Shugendo folk religion, which involves mountain ascetic practices in the mountains conducted by men, and shamanism by women who remained in the villages, and they divined the ills afflicting crops or illnesses of the townspeople. The men returned from the mountains with supernatural powers to cure these illnesses. In the Edo period, about 10% of the population identified as followers of Shugendo, but it was banned in the early Meiji period. Today, the religion is being revitalized in the Dewa Sanzan mountains of Yamagata Prefecture. Behind the Yamabushi is a sweets store called Hitachiya. Hitachiya was the sole confectionery store on the street. It was likely the shogun used this store to purchase elegantly wrapped sweets to be presented as gifts in the early summer observance of Kajo no Gi, or eating sweets to ward off illness. The Japanese still celebrate the 16th of June as Japanese Sweets Day, warding off illness and inviting prosperity. Mitsukoshi department store's basement floor has a startling array of Japanese sweets. Mitsukoshi was the old Echigoya, which we will visit shortly along the scroll. This sweet seller is selling sweets under the brand name Omiya. He has made his sweets in a back alley and aims to one day open up his own permanent store on the main street. Tsuji Kago were palanquin operators who waited on street corners and would often take customers up to the Yoshiwara courtesan district. A used paper collector recycles paper. The paper would be recycled by soaking and washing in a canal, such as the Sanya-Bori Canal near the Yoshiwara courtesan district, and then reset and used as writing letters by the courtesans, or perhaps even toilet paper. Japan has a long history of efficient collection and recycling of recovered paper. About 20% of all garbage is recycled, and published rates today of plastic recycling are very high, 84%, although half of this is thermal recycling, or simply using paper and plastic as thermal fuel. An elegant-looking samurai woman has her kimono adjusted by her handmaiden. Warriors wore silk and commoners wore cotton. During the wealthy period of our scroll, merchants were wearing silk, but these ostentatious displays of wealth were outlawed in the Tempo reforms of 1841 to 1843. Our samurai woman carries an elegant wagasa, or Japanese-style umbrella. Indeed, an umbrella store is just behind her, called Shimaya. It was known affectionately as Teri Furuya, or the rain or shine store, because it sold umbrellas for rain and leather-soled sandals for fine days. A wooden barrel repairman plies his trade on the street, calling out to those who may need their cedar barrels repaired. He has bamboo hooping to be used for binding and his tool chest. He would repair the loosened bamboo binding on barrels used for miso or sake, or in the home. Porters carry a nagamochi oblong clothes chest, watched over carefully by its wealthy samurai owner. A Kinzanji temple miso seller from the Kishu province, today's Wakayama prefecture, hawks his delicious miso. The original recipe was brought from China by Zen priest Kakushin. The hawker would sing the praises of the Kinzanji hishio, a paste similar to miso made from koji mold and salt water. This was the watery mash left over from making soy sauce. Kinzanji miso can still be purchased today. A rokubu religious beggar rings his bell and collects alms of rice and coins. He carries 66 copies of the Lotus Sutra to be distributed around Japan. Often criminals or sufferers of communicable diseases, ostracized from their towns, would lead this lifestyle. This store is an apothecary selling Ryukotan medicine. This was good for liver disease. Today, it is sold under Chinese patent and is made from fellworts, or Japanese suosha. Many of Edo's apothecaries were located in today's East Nihonbashi area. The area used to be called Yonezawa, meaning the rice wetland, where rice warehouses were located. These moved out in the late 17th century and were replaced by apothecaries. The area was renamed East Nihonbashi in 1971. Medicine stores are listed in the Yonezawa area, and many of them sold the Ryukotan liver medicine. This list is from 1716 to 1735 and included Watanabe Yoshifusa selling Hangontan, or reviving the dead medicine, Matsumoto-ya selling rare medicines, including Ryukotan, and Nagasaki Basho, or plantain, banana oil medicine. Today, a boutique Chinese medicine or kampo store is in the Nihonbashi Takashimaya department store, selling many of the same medicines sold in the Edo period. The crowd thins in our scroll. We see two biwa hoshi, or blind minstrels, who play the biwa lute, reciting tales of the Heike warrior family. One carries the Heike biwa, the lute, on his back. This is a smaller scale biwa than other lutes, designed to be portable. It has 4 strings and 5 frets, and was used to play the tale of the Heike. The school which taught this type of recital to sight-impaired people closed in 1872, but did continue in Nagoya. Imai Tsutomu-san is the last of the monk biwa players. Yeah, a store sells kamaboko, or fish paste cakes. We can see men placing surumi, or white fish paste, on boards which will be steamed and cured. Kamaboko has a long history, popular with the warrior class, as it was a long-lasting cured food which could be carried onto the battlefield. During the Edo period, it was popular as gifts. Down Muromachi Street in the old fish market, Kamishige Hampen has been in business since 1688 and sells the non-cured version of surumi, which is soft and mild tasting, and was invented during the Edo period. A tobacco seller is hawking Kokubu tobacco from Osumi province, today's Kagoshima. Tobacco has been grown in Kagoshima since 1606 by the Hattori family, who were retainers of the Shimazu lords of Kagoshima. The permit to sell the tobacco was issued in 1780 in Osaka, but not until 1815 in Edo, so that this tobacco seller may not have been licensed. Tobacco is still grown in Kokubu, Kagoshima. As the old saying goes, the best cut flowers are from Kirishima and the best tobacco from Kokubu, both in Kagoshima. A blind beggar with his cane and begging bowl is particularly down on his luck, simply wrapped in a straw mat to keep himself warm. This is the entrance to Shinagawa-cho. There are clothes drying on the balconies, exactly as they dry on verandas today. There is another set of guardhouses at the entrance to Shinagawa-cho. The volunteer guardhouse on the right is staffed by locals, and they're selling waraji, straw sandals, to supplement their income. A trio of daikagura street performers play the flute and drums as they make their way down the street. Their performances expelled evil, and the central performance was shishimai, or the lion dance. The lions cheekily bite shoppers and receive offerings of money from shop owners. Juggling tricks with umbrellas also pleased shoppers who would leave a small donation, as they do today. Now, next we see a construction site there on the left. In fact, this is one of 4 branch stores associated with the sundries goods store, Kia. The far right store has the trademark still used by the Kia store today, which sells knives, kitchen and lacquerware. A sign on the construction site says that Kia Koshichi's branch store is closed for renovations, but business is still being conducted from the warehouse out the back. The construction site is busy with an earthworks ceremony. Kia still operates in Muromachi. Notice the same trademark from the scroll. The Kia store surviving today was a branch, not the head store. The head store had a round trademark shown in the bottom right. Employees were allowed to set up branch stores, but were not allowed to sell the same products. Therefore, today's Kia branch started selling knives. In 1791, the Union of Wholesalers of Carpentry Equipment was formed, and several wholesalers shuttered. The first generation of the current owner, the Katos, likely purchased one of the Kia branches at this time. The first generation was named Isuke, and Kato Kinya-san is today's 9th generation owner. The business today sells the highest quality Japanese knives, provides knife sharpening services. They also sell kitchenware and lacquerware. Until World War II, it was the practice of the branch store to call on the head house on the 1st and 15th of every month. Back at Koshichi's construction site, we see earthworks conducted by the scaffolders to compact the foundations and pray for safety of the building. This is known as, the workmen, known as tobi kiari, chant while raising a heavy pounding pole. All right. 2 falconers wander the busy streets. The falcons are owned by the shogun, and their handlers are getting the birds accustomed to crowds. Hamarikyu was the shogunate duck hunting ground. It's still a beautiful park, and it's still used as a site for falconry displays conducted annually on the 2nd and 3rd of January. A bamboo kitchen utensil peddler is similar to this one, as seen in a late Edo period photograph. Peddlers visited homes to sell these consumable kitchen objects. This old couple to the right there have fallen on hard times. They look really miserable and have been forced to move home. Moving along, we are approaching the imposing Echigoya Kimono store, today's Mitsukoshi department store and Mitsui Corporation. We see a wide-eyed couple just arrived from the countryside. They are stared at by fashionable locals who look down upon these country cousins and call them onobori-san. The onobori-san country bumpkins have umbrellas, another typical sign of a visitor to the city of Edo. We see a branch store of the Suharaya bookseller owned by Ichibei. Ichibei was a senior employee of the main store owned by Suhara Mohei and was rewarded with his own branch store. Now, in Suharaya's case, the branch store was allowed to continue to sell books. Ichibei was one of the most important publishers of the time, publishing the important Kaitai Shinsho in 1774. Branching off is known as noren wake, or dividing the noren curtain. The Kaitai Shinsho, or New Text on Anatomy by Sugita Genpaku, was a translation of a book of anatomy originally published in Gdansk in Poland. The copy the Japanese worked from was a Dutch translation. It is the first full-blown Japanese translation from a Western language manuscript. Suharaya's generous branch policy is why many branches of Suharaya bookstore survive today. Finally, we arrive at the imposing Echigoya. This famous store revolutionized the way goods were sold. Instead of using peddlers to take goods to homes, it established a shop front where prices were set and had to be paid for in cash. This was the only Mitsui store in Edo, and employees were sent from the head store in Osaka. This started the practice of sending male employees on their own on assignment without their families. Still common in Japan. The signs on the store say genkin kakenashi, or cash only, no bartering. Echigoya stood on each side of the side street Surugacho. This street was perfectly aligned with Mount Fuji. And today, Echigoya, now the Mitsukoshi department store, stands on the left, and Mitsui's traditional headquarters on the right. This is the building which today contains Mitsui's Memorial Art Gallery and was where the scroll was displayed from Berlin on its second visit back to Japan. The store attracted elegant customers, and today 2 lions modelled after the Trafalgar Square lions stand guard. The main building was completed in 1914. Its ground floor atrium is impressive, with a large sculpture of the symbol of Mitsukoshi, the statue of Magokoro. Erected in 1960, it represents Mitsukoshi's dedication to service to its customers. And the ground floor has just undergone a spectacular renewal by the architect Kuma Kengo, who was the architect of the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Stadium. So I hope you will join me for the final part of our stroll down Nihonbashi in part 3. Thank you.